Do you want to improve your endurance on the trumpet? If you do, then you're in the right place. We're going to talk about endurance. We have a live workshop for you right now. Thanks for tuning in. Hi, my name is Chris Davis. Welcome to a channel that I call Trumpet Lessons HQ. Here, I teach trumpet fundamentals, and I give you tips, demonstrations, and encouragement to help you become a better trumpet player faster. If that's something that you think you need, then go ahead and press the subscribe button below. The theme for this month is endurance. So we've tackled this subject through pre-recorded videos like the video posted yesterday and last week. And we also do live interviews like the session you're on right now today. Also, next week on March 18th, we have a live workshop that I call Practice Live, and the topic is all about endurance. So if that sounds interesting to you, if endurance is something you want to improve in, go ahead and register for Practice Live workshop. It's free to attend, but you do need to register, all right? That's all for that, and I want to tell you, we're going to have a question and answer session a little later today. So don't wait to put your questions in the comment section. Go ahead and do it right now. And of course, as questions come, add them to the comment section on the topic of endurance or anything trumpet related, actually. So today we have a special guest, and you know him from Instagram. You know him from TikTok. You know him from Facebook, but you know him best of all from YouTube with over 200 videos posted and over 2 million views on the topic of performing on trumpet and how to play trumpet better. I'm very happy to introduce to you right now the Black Trumpeter, Mr. Aaron Washington. Aaron, welcome to the show.
Chris, thank you so much for having me on the show. I appreciate you having me on, and I'm ready to talk about such a hot topic of trumpet endurance.
Yes, me too. I'm glad you're here. We're not alone, man. We got Howard Thomas in the house and John Robert Fox and a bunch of other people. Anthony Lenzo has returned. Thanks, guys, for coming and spending some time with us. One more time, I'll tell you, if you have questions, write them in the comment section now, and we'll get to them along the way. Aaron, don't want to waste any time on YouTube, man. So we're talking about endurance and how to improve your endurance better. And I know that you went through an embouchure change once upon a time. So I want to start there. Tell us what led to you changing your embouchure, and where were you at that time in your life as far as playing the
For
horn?
me, it was during college. It was really like sophomore, junior year, and my teacher at the time, Dr. Amy Gilreath Major, she noticed that my mouthpiece was really low. My setup was really low, and that really hindered my range, my flexibility, and my endurance. So we spent a good 2-3 semesters just trying to get that mouthpiece up, and I did get it up. However, right around the beginning of my junior year is when I got a new horn. And so what do you do when you get a new horn? You get so excited, right? You start practicing like crazy. So as soon as I got my new horn, that day I practiced like hours at a time, and I didn't stop. I didn't stop to take a break or anything. And then the next morning, I thought I was good. I was like, can't wait to get right back at it on trumpet. And I was like, I couldn't play at all. Like it hurt to play the trumpet. Like my lips were really swollen and puffed up. The middle of my lips felt like it was on fire. I was like, man, I really did practice a lot. So maybe tomorrow will be better. Tomorrow came, it didn't feel better. Maybe next week, and still nothing. So I looked at my embouchure again, and I was like, maybe it should be up just a little bit more. Because I guess what ended up happening with my embouchure is that since my setup was so low, I blew so fast to where it was like a wind burn or like a rug burn, like right in the middle of my chops, like right there. And I couldn't play. I was back to square one. And so during that summer, I spent the entire summer just trying to build my chops back up and just rebuild a new embouchure at the time. And it was pretty stressful. It made me want to quit, like for real.
So what was your process for, coming out of the valley, so to speak, into getting to the place where you are now? Where did you start that process?
Man, so since everything hurt, that pain was the indicator that I was doing something wrong. So my process was to not worry about sound, anything. I just wanted response of the instrument. So I didn't worry about how bad I sound or how good I wanted to sound. I just wanted a nice just response without it hurting. So what I did was I went back to square one, uh Essential Elements 2000. I played stuff out of that. But I couldn't play no more than 5 minutes at a time because after that, my chops were just so tired. Um, so what I did to kind of overcome that each and every day, every week, every month was really just start real simple with the chromatic scale. And at that time, my sound was very airy. It was very thin, and so I couldn't blow that hard. So I had to really focus on like having a really nice response with small amount of air or wind. So I was forced to move my mouthpiece up and forced to play and maximize the air that I could use at a soft dynamic. So there was an exercise that I created for myself just based on the chromatic scale, and I call that the 6 levels exercise. And it's just a chromatic scale going between going in major thirds. So if you start on low C, we go up to E and come right back down. Maybe I can play it for you guys.
Yeah, go ahead. I see you looking at your horn. Go for it.
Hopefully, it's not too loud.
And while I see you putting your mute in, I want to just point out real quick that Aaron said initially when he had his problem, he had to go back to square one.
Yeah.
And initially he had to focus on just getting a response first. I think that's important, especially like for beginners. Um, if you just playing the horn for the first time after a while, getting a response is important. I'm gonna say that I got a cough. Go ahead, Aaron.
All right. So this is the exercise. It's real simple, but it's about how you think about it. So the goal is to make every note sound just as easy as low C. So so what I did was, and it was painful, I I went from low C to E. And what I focused on was making sure that my air was consistent and there weren't any breaks in the sound. Um, and it was at a very soft dynamic. And I'm hardly using any mouthpiece pressure or anything. So that really freed up and really unlocked something from me. It unlocked how I can use my air to be more efficient at playing the trumpet. Because if you can play something at a very soft dynamic, that's the hard part. Playing loud is easy. So if I can play it at a soft dynamic with a nice chord to the sound or to the response, and translate that to each and every note from low C to C above the staff, then that's the goal. I'll be all right. So I did that. So I went in third. So I went from low C to E, and I didn't go to the next level until that part was easy. So I went from low C to E. Then I went to E to G sharp. Then G sharp to C. And then once those little segments were good, and I felt really nice and it felt easy playing those each and every level. I then connected everything, because now I got to one octave. And I did that, and I just kept adding a major third up top until I got up to a whole 2 octaves. And so that process took about maybe 3 months, because that's all I did in the practice room. I practiced chromatic scales, I practiced long tones, and stuff out of the Essential Elements book, because that's all I could play. That's all I could play within those 15 minutes at a time.
Yeah, that's a good lesson on patience. I think
Whew.
we shouldn't try to take too much on at one time. Um, and then once you get hurt, you have no other choice but to take things slowly. So
Yeah, there's no choice.
I know that fundamentals really aren't the most fun thing to practice, but we need to do them. So what lessons did you learn from that experience, Aaron, of coming back?
From coming back, I realized how much we need to use our air, and not only just air, but air support. Like, air support will get you more endurance than trying to muscle everything. If you know how to use your air efficiently, then that makes trumpet so much easier. And when I talk about air support, I'm coming from the abdominals and all around the back. If you know how to blow from here instead of the chest and the neck, that's going to give you more power. That's going to give you more stamina to play the instrument. So that's what I got out of it. By relying on my air, teachers always say, like, rely on your air, or let the air do the work, right? So that's the lesson that I learned. I was like, oh, that's what they're talking about. Let the air do the work. Of course, I know, if you want to increase your range or whatever, and they kind of go hand in hand, range and endurance. You got to know how to use your wind. You got to know how to use your tongue arch and your aperture control. So all of that I learned in those 3 months of just working and being patient and not giving up.
So I want to ask you, what are some of your favorite exercises now, to help you maintain endurance? And I guess a piggyback question would be someone who's having trouble with endurance. What would you recommend for them to practice? If it's not the same thing that you enjoy, what would you recommend?
I would definitely recommend, like, really, like, fine tuning the half step. So, like, do some chromatic exercises, because the half step is supposed to be the easiest interval in Western music. So if on trumpet we can play that with such ease, then we can go on from there. So as far as exercises, the exercise I showed you with, 6 levels, I recommend doing that, just little bits at a time. I also recommend not only like playing exercises, but also if you have like a breath builder, this thing, like, this helps immensely, because it has like 3 holes of resistance. So you cover up one hole, and that's a different set of resistance. So if you know how to breathe well, you know how to inhale and breathe well, that's going to really help with your endurance, because you're relying on your air. You're not relying on, like, muscling it and trying to make the trumpet work. So so chromatics, doing some breathing exercises, and also too is it's not an exercise, but it's just a philosophy. Just like rest as much as you play, if not more. Because we gain endurance through our rest. We don't gain endurance by breaking it down. It's through the rest where we recoup and the blood starts flowing back and recovers, gets all that lactic acid out of our chops. So to recap, I know I said a lot. Is chromatic scales, breathing exercises, and also space out your practice.
What's that device you're using over there? You said it's the breath builder. Is that the
Yeah,
official name of it?
it's the breath builder. That's the name of it. Yeah.
Show
So
us how
you
to
can.
use that.
So the name of the game, real simple and real easy, is to not let the ball fall. So most often, the students that I teach, when they breathe in a way that's 3 steps instead of 2. They breathe in, they hold their breath, and then they release, then they exhale. But if you practice your breath with this, if you do that 3-step process, look what happens. Right? So that ball falls. So with trumpet, we got to learn how to breathe with the 2-step process. In, out. Always the air is moving. The air is always moving, either in or out. It should never be stagnant. Because if it is stagnant and we get that little hitch, that creates tension in the neck. And so that creates that little bit of tension that we don't need, we don't want. And that's going to kill your tone, your endurance, your everything about trumpet. So the name of the game is don't let the ball fall with this thing.
Right on. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't got into using those devices, but I know a lot of people swear by them. And generally speaking, I am for whatever helps you to become a better trumpet player. So that's really cool. So, guys, I'm going to open up the platform for questions. If you haven't already, go ahead and write your question in the comments, and we're going to get them all in as much as time allows. Let's see here. Well, I guess I could just add this. I don't know if this is a question. I must be living right. Both Chris and Black Trumpeter himself in one video. It's about to get turned. All right. Right on. I love it. Thanks, Howard. Anthony said, I got to pick up my car. All right. I hope I can get to watch it. Well, we'll be on a replay if you're not here, live. That's the wonderful thing about this. Let's see here. I'm looking for some questions. Is that the... Okay, let's go, Howard. Chris, what is that trumpet that you're holding in the cover? Okay, I'll answer that question. That's my horn. I get a lot of questions about my horn. This is not a Monette. This is my Edwards X13. It's a good horn. But as cool of a trumpet as it is for me, you got to find something that works well for you.
Exactly.
So if you're interested in getting this horn, go set up an appointment at Edwards and test some things out. And the X13 gets all of the attention, but man, there's the X17 and I forgot the other model number, but there are other good horns that you need to check out as well. Let's see here. Email says, this is dropping by to say, hey, good to see you, Tony. I'm glad you're here.
Hey, what's up, Tony?
Howard says, do you have any recommendations on recovery? All right, so we're kind of talking about that now. Aaron, do you have anything you would like to add about recovery?
With recovery, again, just make sure that you rest up, you drink water, you my teacher in college, Dr. G, she was like, if you're feeling tired, like go in the shower and let that warm water hit your face and just massage your chops and just get it right. So it's when you're dealing with recovery, it's just all about patience again, and only go back to the horn when you don't feel tired or you don't feel like really like stressed or pain or anything,
Yeah,
because you don't want to develop bad habits.
that's right. Yeah, and I would add. I mean, Aaron already touched on this. I would just add to take your time, take things slow, and if you're injured and you need to recover, um, I mean, there you have some serious limitations, right? So just touch on whatever your ceiling is, just a little bit every day, and so that your ceiling can grow, so that you can
Yeah.
come back. Um, all right, and I also would say look for some of the masters that help brass musicians come back from injuries. I've Aaron, what do you know about broken embouchures as a brand? Do you know about broken embouchures?
No, I'm not familiar.
Uh, I don't know much about it, but let me see if I can pull it up real quick. And while I look it up, here's a question for you, Aaron. Do you believe air supersedes embouchure?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Um, does air supersede embouchure? I would say, hmm. I mean, the embouchure is really important. We gotta make sure that we have a good setup. So when it comes to embouchure or maybe mouthpiece placement is what I'm maybe thinking of. Mouthpiece placement is a big deal. I mean, because if we don't have the right setup, then that's going to limit us in endurance and in everything in trumpet. Because I know that's something that really held me back, and so I'm kind of recovering from that since day one because my mouthpiece was super low. Um, so I would say when it comes to air, I think that's number two. Number one is making sure that you have that good setup first, and then let the air help you again with endurance, with range, and all that stuff. But that was an excellent question. Had to make
Yeah.
me think.
I found it. I put the link in the comment section regarding broken embouchures. That's a book by Lucinda Lewis, who that name just keeps coming back every time I hear about people hurting themselves and
Mm,
recovering.
I'm gonna
Um, yeah, check it out. Embouchures.com. All right. That was a great question. Thanks, Trumpet Man. DMV. All right. Here's another question. Oh, that's the same question actually. Do you have any question? Yeah, that's the same question. Great live, right, Chris? All right. Sorry for the dead air. All right, here we go. Edward Johnson. Are there any exercises to help build endurance? Any specific exercises? We kind of touched on that, but I guess Aaron, I give you opportunity if you want to add to anything that you already recommended, and if not, that's fine
just
too. Out. Yeah.
just a recap of things that I've done to for endurance is just can you play the half step easily, and can you play it at a soft dynamic? That soft dynamic is a killer because that's going to determine your finesse and your flexibility with how to play certain notes. If all you can do is play notes loudly, that's not going to serve you because then you can only play them loud. But if you can play them soft, that's going to give you more flexibility in not only your like your tone colors and musicality, but just able to take control of the note. I
Mm-hmm.
know that that's probably a bad word, control, because we can't really control this instrument. We kind of just have to let it flow. But half steps, chromatic scale, and doing what you can do today. If you can only get to C in the staff or E in the staff, then play up to that and see if you can go up a half step because your next note is only a half step away. I remember Marcus Carroll talking about that in the last live stream, and he's completely in 100% right. So master that half step because if you can master that, then all you got to do is turn up the heat just a little bit and go up to a whole step, and then a minor third, and then a major third, and so on and so forth. So chromatic scale, and then just go up chromatically. Real simple, real easy.
And just to reiterate the question, are there any exercises to help build endurance? So I'm assuming here we're not talking about recovering from an injury. You're healthy and you just want to gain your endurance. I'm going to recommend that you use Carmine Caruso, and you can Carmine Caruso method. You can really play anything in the style of Caruso.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to do long tones, you could do that in the style of Caruso, or slurs, you know, tonguing. You can do all that in the style of Caruso because it's all about the long setting, keeping the horn in your face, breathing in through your nose so that you minimize movement. All right. That's not how you actually want to perform, but we're talking about practice. So I recommend practicing in the style of Caruso. And when you do this, though, do it with uh, in moderation. Do it in moderation. You can actually go the wrong way by doing things in the style of Caruso too often or for too long. So touch it a little bit and then leave it alone. Go on with your session, and it's the practicing over time that will help you build your endurance in this area. Uh, and John Robert Fox has the right idea. Most of all, in recovery, be patient. All right, here's a question from Edward Johnson. Should I play certain music to build endurance?
Play the music that's appropriate for your level. So that'll be somewhat of your call and whoever you're studying with, their call. Like knowing your limits, that's really important. Um, so as far as specific music, that's going to be a tough one to answer because I don't know you're playing. But certain etudes that don't have much rest, that's going to serve you well. Or just maybe playing the same exercise. Like if you're a beginner or you're a comeback player, you haven't played for some years, just take the Getchell book and see how many of those small etudes you can play um, in a row. If it's just that one that you can play in a row, work on that. If you can do two in a row without taking a rest, then do that. Um, but that's my answer. What do you think, Chris?
I'm over here in the chat, man. I actually forgot the question. Thanks for the like. Should I play certain music to build endurance? I would say not necessarily certain music, but whatever. If you're focusing on building endurance, take it easy, man. So, um, I like the Conconi book. Those are lyrical exercises, and some of them, there's some nice intervals in there, that you need to practice anyway. So getting through those without the breaks, that's a nice challenge in itself. Uh, some of their moderate tempo, and some of them are slow. So if you want to build endurance, taking things slowly is great. I also recommend just practice some of those Arbin A2s in the back, man. That's challenge all by itself.
Right.
you know, what's the book? Oh my goodness, that the popular. Anyway, I should know the name of this book.
I should too. I mean, I hear it all the time, but I just never know what that
I
is.
have it right here. But anyway, here's the point. Here's the point. The point is practice etudes. The length of them is a challenge for endurance. There aren't many rests. It's not like you're waiting for, a pianist to take 16 bars for you.
Right.
So, just get your hand on a good etude or some nice lyrical studies, and I think you'll be on the right track. We got a question. I kind of just answered this question. What are your favorite books to play out of?
Mm.
Do you have any favorite books? Aaron kind of gave us some tips on that.
I mean, Getchell is. I mean, that's an easier book. However, you can play so many things. You can do so many things with that book. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you can develop your sight reading. You can take it and just be creative with it. Another book is the Bordoni
Yes.
critical studies. That's great. That's great for working on your lyrical playing, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Flexus is a great book. That's one of my favorite books.
Yes.
I bring it out here and there, just for something fresh, something new. Um, and yeah, they have some long setting exercises in there as well. So that's a good book to pick up.
Yeah, and the flexes is in the style of Caruso. Once
Exactly.
again,
Yeah.
and the book that I just couldn't grab was the Goldman. Goldman.
Yeah.
So anyway, we got some more good questions right here. Um, Here we are from Soul. I'm just gonna say Soul. Would you recommend implementing Arbins as a beginner?
Hmm. For me, this might be a little controversial, but I don't introduce Arbins to beginners at all, because I feel like that book like really progresses too quickly, and you really got to hand pick some exercises from it. So what I recommend if you are a beginner, you would get this book called it's by Clark. It's not the Clark Studies, but it's Elementary Studies by Clark, and that's a great book for beginners. It's not a band method. You're not going to be playing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and all that, but it's very progressive and systematic, and so that's going to get you a lot of bang for your buck, like just learning how to play certain notes in repetition. So I recommend that book. So Elementary Studies by Clark, um, Embouchure Builder by Lowell Little. That's going to get you into some flexibility and ease your way into it. Another book I've mentioned is the Getchell book, and the Getchell is just more musical. So the Elementary Studies by Clark isn't too musical in the earlier parts, um, but if you want to get some kind of music into your playing, the Getchell book is good. So Getchell, Lower Little, the Amish Builder book, and Elementary Studies by Clark.
Right on. Good recommendation. I love Clark personally, and I have that. There's a Clark book that was put out. Somebody put all of his books into
Oh
one
snap!
spiral, and that's come pretty handy. Yeah, the Clark Technical Studies is the most popular, but that's not the only Clark book.
Right.
We have a question here. Another one. Thank you for all the questions, and I want to say add them to the comments now because once the questions stop, that's the end of the live, which is totally fine. If you don't have questions, but if you do, get them in now. You got both of us here at the same time. This is pretty fun. All right, so who are your favorite trumpet players, and when are you going to drop an album? Who are you talking about? It's two of us.
Right.
I'll answer the question after you do.
Uh, well, my favorite players right now and probably of all time is Tom Harrell. You can't go wrong with Tom Harrell as far as just like ideas for days. Um, Another person I've been hip to is Fats Navarro. So right now, that's who I'm listening to right now. But I mean, you can go down the list of all the great trumpet players, but for some reason, I always come back to Tom Harrell and Fats Navarro. Um, that's just me personally, and um, with certain characteristics of other players, like modern players like Christian Scott or Tunde Adjua. I just love his way of playing the blues and the way he just plays the trumpet just with so much force. And the force is probably the worst word I can use, but so much vigor and life. Um, like he's about to die on the stage. Like that's how passionate he plays. Anytime I hear him, either live or through video. So I think those are the three players. And honorable mention will be Marquise Hill, of course, because just the way he approaches the horn at very agile and just um, like smooth, and, but yet um, unpredictable, unpredictable with just the octave jumps or with certain jumps that he does. It's just, or how he ends a phrase. I can talk about this for days, but my favorite players right now is Tom Harrell, Christian Scott, Tunde Adjua, Fats Navarro, and Marquise Hill. That's who I'm listening to right now. Now, as far as me personally, when I'm going to have an album out, who knows, man. Right now, I think I'm just crafting my voice as far as like my own way of how I would like to speak the language of this music. So don't hold your breath on that one.
Well, I have a question. What kind of album do you think you want to record first? The
Okay.
one that you're going to
Oh,
lead? Yeah.
that's a good question. I think for me, when I if I come out with something, it probably wouldn't be an album, but it would probably be like maybe little singles here and there as far as like standards. Because one thing I would love, growing up and listening to. I'm not saying I want to be some amazing player or whatever, but I would have loved to hear certain players play certain tunes so I can get their take on maybe how they go about Stella by Starlight, or how they go about playing Autumn in New York, you know. Um, and I know there's some like they got to pay royalties or whatever to those people, but I would love to hear more modern players play standards. So for me, I would just like come out with just like small like little standards here and there, and then come up with my own stuff. Maybe like an EP of original music. But I think that's where I would start. Standards.
Right, right on. And I just saw Ozier Muhammad make a comment. I just want to say thank you very much, and I'll share that later. Um, yeah. So, DMV Trumpet Man, thank you very much for your question. Um, if you ask me who my favorite player is, it's going to change every day. So
Right.
today, I'll tell you this: I grew up spending a lot of time with Miles Davis in my basement, practicing with his. I know that kind of sounds funny, but practicing with the recordings in my basement for hours. Man, I remember going down in the basement. The sun was up, middle of the morning, coming up. It was dark. I'm like, man, where did the day go? Just spending time listening to the music. It felt so good. And I spent years with Miles Davis. I definitely went out of order. If there is an order, like if you're supposed to listen to, and if you follow the timeline of the history of music, I definitely went out of order, but that's okay. I always tell players to start with whatever you're attracted to and listen to that. So Miles Davis grabbed me first, which is ironic because my first recording that I owned was Round About Midnight. I think that's the name of the album, Round About Midnight. And I remember putting the tape in. Yes, it was a tape. I put the tape in the player, played the first song, hated it, and I was like, well, I'll listen to the next one. I might like it. Hated that. Played the third one. It's like, this album's horrible. I turned the tape over, and the whole album I didn't like it at all. And I put that tape back in the case, disappointed. Put the case in the windowsill. It sat in my windowsill for a whole year and collected dust. And almost to the day, a year later, I took it off the shelf, blew the dust off, put the tape back in the recorder, and I pressed play, and I couldn't stop listening so hard. It was like my favorite recording. Um, Clearly, the recorded music didn't change. Something
Right.
happened to me over the course of a year, and till this day, that's one of my favorite recordings. So, Miles Davis. Then I spent a lot of time with Wynton. Yeah, I was just really into Wynton. I remember being in high school and someone said something about Wynton. I didn't know who Wynton was, and it did one of those. You don't know who Wynton Marsalis is? I'm like, no, I don't. I don't know who that is. So that was my introduction, and I started listening to maybe it was the Charlie Brown album. I don't know if that was the first one I heard. Uh, but anyway, from there I went down the Wynton rabbit hole, which was wonderful. and didn't come out for probably like 7 years or something like that. So, um, yeah. So anyway, I'll just stop there because, like Aaron said, we could talk about this for a long time.
Right.
And about the recording, who said I didn't have an album? I got the album right here, baby.
Got it.
It's called Eventide. There you go. Chris Davis Jazz Tet.
Pick it up.
Eventide. Rajiv Halim is on the recording, alto sax player.
Woo.
Willarm Dellisfort, he's in New York now, piano. Alex Austin on bass. Luke Malevich on trombone. Casey Fitzpatrick on tenor saxophone. And did I forget someone? Marcus Evans on drum set. Yes, wonderful band. This is great original music. It's on iTunes if you want it. CD Baby, all that good stuff. Thanks for asking. All right, enough about that. Oh, and I am recording a new project. It was supposed to happen, but COVID, However, it's still going to happen. I had rehearsal last week on my birthday, and it's gonna be good. It's gonna be real good. You're gonna love it. So, we got a question. Thanks for that, Trumpet Man. Here's another question. Why did you choose the horns that you play? I'm looking at Adams, Thane, or Lotus. So why do you choose the horn that you're on, Aaron?
This is the BNS Challenger 2 with a reverse lead pipe. It's a 43 bell, and I chose it. Before I had this horn, I had a Bach 180 37G, so it was a beautiful lacquer horn with the gold brass bell. Beautiful. I can get the darkest sound. The easiest. However, it didn't give me too much access to the upper range as easily as my BNS does. I feel like the BNS was a little bit more easy blowing, and it didn't provide too much resistance. So, this was actually a gift. This horn was a gift from my teacher back in high school, private teacher, and Larry Bowen, rest in peace. So he gave me this horn as a wedding gift, and so I tried it out and I loved it. I was like, well, I'll give you this horn and I'll trade you. You trade me your horn, and that'll be it. And so I tried it out. I was like, I want it. Here's my horn. You can take it. And never looked back. And it's been a great horn. Been a good horn. The only downside is that I have to just work a little bit harder to get that dark smoky sound that I want. But it doesn't matter because that sound is up here for me. So
right.
If I have to work just a little bit harder, that's okay. That's all right for me.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, so for me as well, man, I when I'm picking a trumpet, it's all about the blow and then the sound. Those two things. If the blow is good, if it sounds great, it's my horn.
Right.
It's really that simple. All right, cool. All right, I think we're about done, man. Just let me double check. Howard says he had a similar experience, except for him it was Black Codes from the Underground. That's a wonderful recording. And thanks a lot for the love. Respect to both you guys. Keep up the good work. Yeah, man. So what I like about Aaron is that and Aaron, there's some other people on the channel on YouTube that use YouTube to teach. And I like Aaron's diligence. Like I said, 200 plus videos. What in the world, Aaron? That's wonderful, man. I'll get there with you one day. But that's diligence, guys. So that's somebody who is dedicated, to the cause, and that's what I'm all about myself. Really quick, I got one more question for you since it came up, and then we'll transition. Where did the vision for your YouTube channel come from?
Well, it started I started it. I was just coming out of college, so I knew that I needed something to help me get my voice out, right? So because nobody knew who I was, like um, so what I did, this is a long story, but to make a long story short, is I I wanted to prove that I knew what I know. Um, if someone wants to take lessons from me, it was what I did first was try to, post flyers everywhere, post flyers like on the internet and stuff like that, say like, hey, my studio is open, right? But I heard crickets because nobody knew who I was and nobody knew that I had value to give them. So I started it as a way to show that I know what I'm talking about. I can give and provide value. Um, so that's how it started. However, I wanted the reason why I call it the Black Trumpeter is because I there needs to be more representation in on the internet and everywhere. So I wanted to provide that and not be ashamed of who I was by calling myself the Black Trumpeter. So I wanted to embrace who I was as a black man or a young black man. I'm still young, but I wanted to embrace that part and and just show some more representation because I know how important that is for a lot of people. They want to see themselves in whatever they're doing. Just to give them more inspiration, some more motivations, all that stuff. So that's how it originated, representation, and then I just want to show the value that I had to give to people.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. Thanks a lot. Um, we got some more questions here, and we have a few more minutes, so let's do it. Let's see here. Ozier has a good question. Are there any trumpet flea markets in this year where one can try out horns? I want to buy a new trumpet. Do you know of any such place, Aaron?
No, I don't.
Well, I'll say there's somebody who's doing a very good job promoting their business. It's Austin Custom Brass by Trent Austin. They're located in Kansas, but they're known for good customer service, and they'll get you whatever you need. You know, they have new horns and they have a lot of used trumpets as well. So I would start there. Give them a phone call and tell them what you're looking for, and see where that leads you. Here we go. Are both of you? Oh, my favorite question. Thanks, Howard. Are both of you currently open to new students? Aaron, what's the answer?
Uh, I am only a few spots though, maybe two or three, only because I have a baby girl, and so my time is very limited. I got to teach in between her nap times. So
Yes, and for me, I have a baby girl as well, so I need to put food on the table. Come on over. No, I'm just teasing. That was a joke. But no, the answer is yes. Great, great experiences if you go with Aaron or myself. Here we have another question from Edward. Have you guys ever experimented with mouthpieces? Go ahead, man. This is all you're our guest, so you always
yeah,
got first crack. Yeah.
I so most of my experience with mouthpieces just come from my teacher in high school, Mr. Larry Bowen. Um, he always gave me things to try out. So I had like a, a Hammond that I used for a long time. I used is it Fox or Fax? I had that. Uh, Various different Bach mouthpieces. Um, in college, there was like I think it's Pickett mouthpieces. I'm really not the person for equipment like advice or questions because I always get too consumed and too overwhelmed with all the options. But yeah, I experiment with a lot of pieces. Well, a fair amount of pieces. And what works for me right now is the Bach 3C. Not saying that's going to work for you or work for anybody else, but it just provides me a nice core sound. Like every time I go to a different mouthpiece, um, the 3C just does the job for me for right now.
Yeah, right on. So, I don't really. I've only played a few mouthpieces ever. Like, I mean, diligently. I'm not saying I haven't tried mouthpieces, but ever like in my life, I think I started on the 7. Then I think I went to a 5. I think I totally skipped 3. I don't think I ever played 3.
Mm,
And then I played a 1.5 and settled on a 1.5 in college, and I still play a 1.5.
mm,
Uh, so yeah, I learned how to do everything pretty much on a 1.5. Uh, oh, I forgot I played 1.25 for a while, and that was my mouthpiece for a long time, for maybe 2 years or something. And after that, 1.5. So uh, I never really got into gear myself, but man, I know that does matter uh, as far as like the response that you're gonna get on the horn. I found out too that the mouthpiece you choose matters according to the trumpet that you play,
mm.
because of the gap. You know that'll change the intonation and the blow, the feel. So I never really wanted to go down that hole though, because it's it's such a fragile thing. If you change one thing, it makes a big difference. So I just I didn't want to go down that path, because I witnessed people go down that path, and it could last years. And I mean, it's worth it if that's what you want to do. I just I never needed to do it, so uh, but it could be worth it if you feel like you need to. Thanks for the compliment, Robert. I appreciate you. Um, we have another question here. I've been playing on a cheap Chinese trumpet for a year. It's getting pretty good. I'm thinking of either upgrading my horn to a more pro horn. I'm thinking of getting a cheap flugelhorn. What do you say
Mm.
about that? Go for it, man.
I say again, get the horn that's in your budget and that you sound the best on.
Oh,
That's literally just my advice for everything.
yeah. And
Equipment
here's
wise.
and here's the actual question. Which direction would you advise? So, let's see. I've been playing a cheap horn. It's pretty good. And I guess, what's your definition of cheap?
Right.
You know, again, I would say go to Austin Custom Brass. They're the pros. They do this for business. But I have my experience with Chinese horns aren't haven't been good. They don't last in my experience. Maybe they're getting better. I don't know. Uh, so I would just say save up some dollars and get a good horn. The most affordable trumpet, and I know that's a relative term, but the most affordable trumpet that I found was the student model Blessing. And I played it, and I could not believe what I was playing. It felt like a pro instrument. So check that out. That's a good place to start. And here's an endorsement. Yeah, Trent Austin Concert Brass is great. Purchased a Flugel. Customer service is great. Yep, there you go. All right. You taking notes, Aaron?
Yeah, I wrote down student horn blessing. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yes, sir. Check it out. Um, you can get lost in it. It feels good. Good below. What are you referring to, Robert? What are you referring to? Um, well, I don't see any more questions, and I'm not gonna log off. I'm gonna give you another minute to get your questions in. But we have spent a nice amount of time together, and while we're just sitting here, I want to tell people that Aaron has something called Create Your Lick Workshop. And this is where, if you're new to improvisation and if you want to get a jump start on your improvisation, then this is a good resource for you to begin with. So he has something called Create Your Lick Workshop. It's a live workshop. He hosted it a couple of weeks ago, but he recorded it for you. So if that's something you're interested in, go ahead. I'm going to add the link in the comment section below. So we're live right now, but on the replay, give us a few minutes to update the comments, and the link will be there for you, and you'll be able to check that out. That's all for now. I guess one more thing I want to show you is I have the Practice Live workshop coming up next week. We're going to actually put the horn on our face, and you get to ask all your questions about endurance. The cool thing is, though, right now, me and Aaron are together, and you're in the comments, but in Practice Live, we see each other face to face over Zoom. So if you're interested in improving your endurance and spending some time with me and other players in the community, go ahead and register for Practice Live workshop. It is free to attend, but you do need to register. So I wanted to make that available to you. And I want to say thank you, Aaron, for being our guest today.
Thank you for having me. It was just fun.
Yeah, I agree. And we're going to do more of these for you. I appreciate everybody for coming today. Go ahead and click the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We got the Black Trumpeter. Visit his YouTube channel if you're not familiar. And that's all for now. I'll see you next time. God bless you.